Much like everyone else who had watched Daredevil, before the release of Daredevil Born Again, I was pretty excited about all the characters I like from the original shows returning and Disney actually keeping the original show canon because the later seasons ended on a huge banger streak. But after watching the show, I needed to take my time to fully understand the profound disappointment this show had delivered to me. Maybe it was my fault for expecting something that was at least comparable to the original show, or at the very least, an interesting new take on the characters. Born Again was clearly trying to keep the tone from the original show, but for some reason, it wasn't able to capture the old vibe. I'm not going to pretend to know enough about TV show production to boil down a specific reason, so I'll just say maybe it was the Disney Plus filter. I can't be the only one who felt like this show made some promises in its marketing that felt like bait for comic readers. Naming the show Born Again after the Frank Miller comic, the White Tiger trial, Kirsten, Heather Glenn, Muse, and promises of a Devil's Reign kind of direction of where the show is going to go. I don't think there's anything wrong with making these references or even including stuff from their comics. My problem is none of this is really handled well in the show, and I'm not making this judgment based off comparisons to the comic. I just believe in the show itself, none of these things were done well enough to justify the inclusion in the show. Before I talk more about this show, I wanted to make it clear that I don't believe this is the worst thing ever made. I just don't think they put enough effort into this show to keep it consistent enough to be named in the same breath as the original Netflix show. My favorite stuff from the Daredevil comics come from Mark Waid's run. I loved how light-hearted it was, especially coming off of Brian Michael Bendis and Ed Brubaker. It felt nice seeing a Daredevil smile, have fun, and even when heavy things happen, try his best to stay positive. Don't get me started on the relationship between Matt and Kirsten. I'd love to talk more about this run, but I'll save it for its own video. With the love I have for this run, you could imagine my excitement then disappointment in seeing Kirsten in the new season. She was very different from who she was in the comic, and even with them changing her, I wouldn't be that upset if they didn't try to make her a replacement for a character like Foggy. She didn't have the can-do girl boss, Robin Scherbatsky vibe I expected from her. And what's worse is they took away my favorite Matt romance and replaced it with one of his worst romances. We couldn't even get any chemistry with their characters. The White Tiger trial was something I always thought was a very layered story, from how he gets into his situation to how he and Matt decide to handle his trial. The trial did something I thought was pretty cool, which is when Matt pulls his superhero connection cards and invites a few heroes to his trial, calling in Doctor Strange as a magic expert or Mr. Fantastic as a science expert. I thought that really showed how connected these heroes of New York really are. I enjoyed the suspense of the White Tiger trial, and at the end wondering how he was going to be sentenced. Then I remembered how rare the male version of White Tiger is and felt this very sad end coming. The show manages to capture some of these emotions, but surprised me when they actually won the trial. But I guess White Tiger had a fatal weakness. To be honest, I think I like the switcheroo with the trial actually being won, but how it's done is just terrible to me. Matt has to expose White Tiger's secret identity to win, which not only doesn't seem like an action Matt would ever do, especially without him asking first. It also takes away a lot of what made Matt a good lawyer in the earlier seasons, his actual lawyer skills. Also, Matt does get another hero killed in this show, but it's kind of brushed off as the doing of the forces of evil. My Daredevil would have been talking to his priest about this for the next 5 years. I'm not going to talk too much about the Muse arc because I think everybody that has seen this would know that it was, I think, the worst handled thing in the show. And I'm not even a Muse writer. I didn't like Charlie Soule's run on the comics. I think that was the only run I really didn't read the whole way through. But I do know the Muse story, and this isn't it. Because no, I'm fine with them changing around the story to make it fit in the world that they have in Born Again. But the whole encounter between Daredevil and Muse felt so contrived and didn't really have any personal feeling that Daredevil normally has when confronting one of his villains. But the personal attachment got tacked on later on another episode with a reveal that didn't really strike a chord with me. But I think the less I talk about Muse, the happier everybody gets. It's kind of funny that they used Muse to trigger the Devil's Reign plotline. But with all the backing of the MCU, I still don't really believe that Matt is going to be able to assemble that huge of a heroes cast to help him fight against Kingpin, especially after watching the announcement of the second season and only seeing that I think Punisher and Jessica Jones were coming back, maybe Luke Cage, but not Iron Fist and not any other superhero in the MCU. Which brings me to another point. If this was the direction Marvel was going to take this Daredevil cast, I truly believe they should have just recast everyone except Jonathan Bernthal, because it's clear that they're trying to contain the cast into this world or this small space, because even the stuff happening in the Daredevil show isn't affecting anything else in the MCU happening at the same time. We don't even get references of Fisk being mayor. Not to say this cast isn't good, but I just believe in the direction the MCU is going and how old these actors are. I just don't think they are at the age that the MCU is going for. Because in my mind, I always thought Spider-Man and Daredevil were at least somewhat in an age range. Daredevil was clearly older, but I always thought Spider-Man wasn't too far off from him. But the Spider-Man we have in the MCU and the Daredevil we now have in the MCU seem to have almost a 20 plus age gap. Most of Fisk's side plots were kind of boring and felt like a drama rip of Parks and Recreation. I don't have much to say about him, but he was pretty much on standby till it was time to do Devil's Reign. Look, am I saying this is a bad show? No, but I can't call it good, especially for something with Daredevil's name on it. I know there's a lot of behind the scenes drama that made a pretty big hit on the quality of this season, but it was still pretty disappointing. From what I've heard, season 2 would be a huge improvement, so I'm looking forward to that. The Punisher scenes were sick. Subscribe.